You're listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast, talking TV shows and movies in easily digestible chunks. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Bingecast. I am Jay, and I am here with
Zeke,
Chris,
and we have just returned from seeing Godzilla vs. Kong.
we went through the COVID fields for an awesome movie experience.
I was the only one among us who is fully vaccinated.
Yeah, you're the safe one. We're the screwed ones.
Well, no, you and Kat are half vaccinated.
Half vaccinated.
Chris is not vaccinated.
I've been working in the kitchen since I was 18 with all the chemicals that I've been exposed to and all the other things I've been
You fear
exposed
no
to.
COVID.
I fear no COVID.
Yeah, but it's not so much whether, because I have a pretty healthy immune system myself. I'm not afraid of COVID. It's, of getting sick myself. The thing that I worry about is getting other people sick.
True.
Because, I live in a house with you guys. You, Chris, again, not so worried about, because you, as you just said, you've worked in a kitchen since you were 18, all the chemicals, etc.
I ate dirt. I'm fine.
Except you are diabetic,
I ate
and
dirt.
thus
I'm
at
fine.
risk. Kat has asthma, thus at risk.
My immune system is shit.
That also good reason there. And of the other people in the house, Sam and the Peanut Gallery have had a respiratory illness within the last few years. Mm-hmm. So, I can't speak about roommate Brian, but
The one that never pops out.
yeah, he's going to be fine because he never leaves the house. At any rate, but yeah, we went to go see this in the theaters because if you're going to see two giant monsters fight one another, you want to see it on a big screen.
And I will say the most distracting thing about it is if you ever hear a cough in a movie.
Yeah.
You're sitting there like, was that a person? Was that the movie? What's going on? And then
Because it really started up right after the attack on the Apex Cybernetics facility at the
Right
beginning
at
of
the
the movie.
beginning of the movie, yeah.
And then I start hearing some coughing going on, and I'm thinking to myself, is that in the movie or is that in the theater?
I think at that point in time we all just took our masks and went, nope.
Yep. We all pulled our masks back up. But we were sitting in the back row, they were sitting in the front row, so I think we're gonna be okay. But anyway, Godzilla vs. Kong, and you, Zeke, just binged your way through the entire MonsterVerse before this.
No, I did 3 movies today. I did Skull Island, I did King of Monsters, and now I did Godzilla vs. Kong.
And did you see Godzilla 2014?
I saw that 2 days ago.
Yeah, so you have just basically binged
Yes.
the whole MonsterVerse before
This is
going
the
to see
easiest binge you will ever do.
it. Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way. I said this before we went to the movie theaters. Me and Chris have both watched Justice League, the Snyder Cut, and that was a lot
I'll be watching
harder,
that soon.
That was a lot harder to sit through than 3 giant monsters fighting each other. You have story depth. I don't need depth. I just need kaijus.
Yeah, it's just like, we don't give a shit about deep story, big monster.
That, in fact, it doesn't help that I'm a Pacific Rim fan. Every time I heard that freaking music come up, when the Godzilla or any giant monster comes up, I'm like, that's the kaiju music. I love it.
And why don't we mention this right now? You and I both we've all sort of heard rumors that they are thinking about trying to bring the two universes together.
Oh my god, that ever happens. I
will be marking out like a motherfucker.
Here's the question that we have to ask, though. I will be bringing us off track right now.
Go ahead.
First movie, second movie, or the anime? Which universe would you want to see mixed with that? Because myself,
they kind of feel like 3 entirely different universes in a way.
I would love to have the first movie with Gypsy Danger going against Godzilla or Kong. I mean,
Seeing
I know,
Gypsy Danger do its little Jaeger salute thing with the ba 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 ba.
and I know the Welligan Knowledge is sitting there going, that math does not make sense because the Jaeger is nowhere near as tall as Godzilla.
I'm trying. Well, the thing is, I'm actually trying to think of, are they taller or as tall as the MonsterVerse monsters?
I think that's short of memory serves correctly because someone did a comparison. Well,
Because if Godzilla just looks down at one and flicks it with his finger, there's gonna be a problem.
Yeah,
no, they're not that small.
I think we joked about this on the Pacific Rim the Black binge, where we were talking about the sun in the Antiverse and how that's not a sun. That's Godzilla peering through the other side of the breach. Just sort of like, you stay right there.
They're not that small, considering, in fact, you look at the fight they had in, I call it Neo Tokyo, because there's so many neon bright lights. We're
talking about the fight in Hong Kong?
Yeah. They're pretty decent size. I mean, yeah, there's some skyscrapers. They're still smashing things that are taller than them. So I want to say the Jaeger might not be as tall, but not too sure where he can get flicked.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They're not as tall as Godzilla, but they're not like minuscule.
I think they might be Kong and Skull Island tall.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Now all we got to do is get Mechanic Kong in one of these movies.
Mecha Godzilla?
No.
Oh yeah, Cyber Kong.
Yeah, well, it was
Mechanic Kong.
Well, in that particular King Kong movie, it was called Mechanic Kong.
Okay. Well, spoiler alert, we'll say that right now. If you haven't seen the movie, from this point forward, there will be much more spoiler discussion. But Mechagodzilla is in this one. So if they've done it once, they'll do it again.
Okay, so avoid your children's toy section at Walmart.
Yeah, there's also that.
There's also like it's posted all over the trailers, and everybody, like, the first trailer came out, I was like, wait, hold on, pause. Is that Mechagodzilla blueprints in the back? Yes.
Is that, or the scene with the dust cloud and the people running away as Mechagodzilla is going by overhead? That's in the trailer, and you can see the red lighting in there. So people were like, Mechagodzilla immediately.
We all knew it was going to happen when we sat down in the theater. Like,
it was just like, it's not about the destination; it's about the journey.
Which makes me wonder what is with versus movies and making a third opponent come up. It's like, who puts the core?
Name 2 other examples.
DC's Batman vs Superman.
Frankenstein meets the Wolfman.
Who do they fight in that one?
It's just those two fighting each other.
Okay.
But
I was specifically looking for examples where they're surprise third opponent.
And I'm trying to think. There was the first one. It was DC's Batman vs Superman, and then there was one more that we watched.
Yeah, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
I don't remember which one it was. I swear it was another one. I originally thought it was Alien vs Predator, but it was not that.
Nope.
Alien vs Predator was just some predators versus a temple full of aliens, and there's a few humans in there to be cannon fodder.
And who were like, oh wow, this is a new pyramid. What did we just activate? Don't touch that.
Yeah.
And then I know that Freddy vs. Jason was no third opponent.
Nope.
But they were talking about making a second one where Mike Myers came
No.
There were a lot of fan.
No, it was supposed to be Ash from Evil Dead.
Ash from Evil Dead.
I've also seen versions where it's like when they get pulled down into hell, then suddenly they're bound up in chains and Pinhead shows up.
That was one of the ideas. But
it's like, now what seems to be the problem?
I kind of want to throw Amazing Spider-Man 2 in there, but it's not a versus movie.
Yeah, that doesn't. I wouldn't really count
superhero films
that.
don't count.
Yeah.
So there's not really too many examples, but
I'll make better ones of Binge's over if I want to think of the second one.
Yeah, probably as soon as we're done recording.
He's gonna leave it in the comment section.
Yeah, do it. If you do remember, then go to the comment section on our YouTube video. Maybe also pull it up on CKCC Radio.
Nice plugs.
Yep. So I remember when I saw the trailer and they were like, Godzilla's going crazy and attacking people for no reason. I'm just thinking to myself, he's not attacking for no reason. There's gonna be a reason.
Unless you're a person like me at the time who had not seen a single Godzilla movie besides Skull Island, and you're like, oh yeah, he could attack people for no reason. That makes sense. Yeah. Until you watch
and then you've seen all all three.
Yes,
he
only attacks when provoked. It's like, oh, you bastards!
Mm-hmm.
Did they bring back the suitcase?
The suitcase?
Yeah, we remember.
Orca.
It was in the suitcase.
It was Orca from King of the Monsters that they were using to make the alpha predator or the alpha sound. The one where it was like a mixture of.
Right, yeah, that thing. I couldn't remember what it was called. But,
yeah.
Yeah, and the movie opens with this. Well, at first it opens with just sort of explaining that there's apparently been this long-standing sort of rivalry between the species of Godzilla and Kong, going back to antiquity, sort of thing. And then when we fast forward to present day, we get introduced to Conspiracy Guy.
Well, I swear that actor looks so familiar, but I can't think of where.
Yeah, same.
Why you didn't look him up on the drive home?
Wasn't a very long drive.
Yeah.
But he runs a podcast, the Titan Truth podcast.
So wanted to open up this cast. Welcome to the Bingecast Titan Cast.
Yeah, welcome to Titan Truth. But and he's just basically like, they're hiding stuff from us. What's Monarch and Apex Cybernetics really up to? And turns out he as he puts it, embedded himself at Apex like several years before, working his way up so he could try to get access to stuff so he could find out what they were up to, because he doesn't trust nobody, sort of thing. And he finally gets access to a computer, finds out that they're shipping something from their facility in Pensacola to their headquarters in Hong Kong. So many of these shady, like, cybernetic, corporations that are making all these sort of advances and stuff, trying to, for the betterment of humanity, are up to some shady shit. Because we saw that in Pacific Rim Uprising.
The best part about this is I had to turn my brain off at that point in time. I'm sitting there going, wait.
You just stole that from...
Well, it's not just that. It's like, okay, so let's take the premise of this movie. Out of the other movies, they acknowledge there are monsters out there.
Yes.
They acknowledge that Kong. They show these secret organizations. They throw them out in the spotlight for everybody to see. Mm-hmm. And now a guy is doing a cast about that one. You're telling me the government didn't just come up there and be, hey, about that, we're gonna watch a cast and then
we don't
shut down.
We only saw like snippets of what he'd been covering previous to this point.
Yeah.
It could be that everyone just sees him as just some sort of fringe nut job. That the stuff he's been spouting.
It's like if Fox Mulder had his own podcast and he was just rambling on about UFOs.
Or any of those sorts of podcasts.
For him, I could see him primarily going for UFOs. The Fluke Man, hell no.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that there are tons of podcasts like that out there where people are probably spouting all sorts of weird conspiracy shit themselves, and nobody really takes them seriously because they're just...
Well, there's also the dude from 8-Legged Freaks who was doing it out in the middle of the Arizona desert.
Yeah, well, that's where you'd expect to find the alien abduction.
Yeah, but then
guys.
We find out where this dude works.
Yeah. At any rate, and while he's there looking this stuff up, suddenly Godzilla attacks the facility for seemingly no reason. But when Conspiracy Guy sneaks into some bunker that he sees some scientists rushing towards, a piece of debris blows a hole in the side of the facility, and that's when he sees a giant mechanical eye. And it's making some sounds that sound way too close to Ghidorah's call for my liking.
I did not think that was an eye. I thought it was a heart.
I thought it was like a paracord.
Yeah.
I looked at it, I was like, it looked way too much like an eye for me. But it was making a sound very much like Ghidorah's little, like, I am king cry from... King of the Monsters. And then, we sort of catch up on some of the other stuff that's going on. Like Kong, turns out, we see him and it looks like he's just chilling on Skull Island. There's this little native girl there, made a little doll for him, and he sort of says hello to her in the morning. And then he just picks up a tree, turns it into a spear, and hucks it at the sky, and it turns out... Oh, he's in the Matrix.
No. We also need to talk about his morning routine. He wakes up, scratches his ass, takes a shower in a waterfall, and then picks a tree up, rips the roots off, strips the branches off,
makes it a spear.
Makes it into a spear. We don't see what he does exactly. He walks over to the girl, morning, throw.
Yeah, and then it's just sort of like, bitch, I know you're keeping me in a cage. I don't like it.
Yeah, but then we eventually see that he's thrown several of those into the dome.
And it turns out this dome is on Skull Island, and the storm that surrounds it has basically gone crazy and is. And from what they mention in passing later in the movie, the storm took over the island. I'm assuming that happened when Ghidorah started messing with the ecosystem in King of the Monsters, but the storm basically killed off all the native people there except for that little girl.
Yeah, which Kong was just like...
And Kong protected her.
Me protect girl.
Yeah. And we meet this scientist who's been studying Kong there and has been trying to communicate with him. And she finds out, like, a third of the way through the movie that Kong has been able to communicate in sign language basically the whole time, and it's just been like, nah.
I love how scientists are so smart but so stupid at
Oh,
the
yeah.
same time.
What was that line from iRobot? You are the dumbest smart person I know.
Yeah.
It's like, she sits there and she's like, oh yeah, this child has a bond with Kong. That's how they know each other. There's a bond.
I was half expecting Kong to suddenly do the, like, apes together strong.
Oh, he needs to grab a shitload of trees to do that.
He just won't cut them forever.
Yeah. But he...
Or was it X-Force?
X-Force. There's also... But Apex is, after the quote-unquote unprovoked attack on their facility, declares they're going to find a way to equalize things with Kong, with their technology and everything, and I'm like,
There's a power source somewhere called in the inner Earth.
Called the Hollow Earth. Yes.
The Hollow Earth. And they must use Kong because he can guide us there.
Yeah. Basically, the way the theory goes with the Hollow Earth thing is that there is a place inside the Earth, the Hollow Earth, which emits this sort of life energy stuff that sort of, I guess, sort of makes the Titans in a sense. They just sort of glossed over exactly what its connection was with the Titans, but the Apex folks were just sort of like, we could use this to power our technology.
We say we want giant fighting monsters to see that.
We want a giant fighting robot.
But, no, we see giant fighting monsters, but then we gloss over the fact that there's some information that might be critical here, but it's okay because it's giant fighting monsters over here.
Yeah, well, again, you're not going to these movies for an in-depth explanation of how all this shit works. You're going there to see giant monsters punch each other in the face.
It's like when I went to go see King of the Monsters, one of my coworkers messaged me saying, "Oh, how was the movie? I heard the critics are like slamming it," and then I sent him a meme of where it says that critics slamming Godzilla,
and then it's Hulk and Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, or Thor. Critics are slamming it because of the lack of human development in the film, and then it says the fans, meanwhile, and it's Hulk saying,
"But big monster."
Yeah. By the way, I think I figured out the movie he's from that you may have seen.
Joker.
Yes.
He was also in Hotel Artemis.
He's also in Child's Play too.
Yeah.
He's also the voice of
Spider-Man. Hotel Artemis. Yeah, he was like the older brother. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's also Jefferson Davidson from Spider-Man. Into
I
Spider-Verse.
forgot that you had seen Hotel Artemis.
Not in the theaters, but I have.
Anyway,
seen it.
but they go to this fringe scientist played by Alexander Skarsgård, who'd been sort of discredited because all of his efforts to find the Hollow Earth had failed,
and his brother died in the process.
Yep. But as he explains, his brother had found potential way in there, but there's like a gravity inversion thing that happens in going into the Hollow Earth that killed him. And the Apex guys were just sort of like, yeah, about that. We have this hovercraft thing. It's got special technology that'll keep you safe.
I was thinking of that movie, The Core.
Yeah.
Where they had the vehicle where it's like the further it went down, like the more pressure that was added to it,
the harder the armor got.
Yeah, the stronger it got. So I was like, are they ripping off The Core here?
I mean, they're ripping off a bunch of other movies. But I don't care.
I know The Core.
There are no original ideas in Hollywood anymore.
I mean, I know that the Core wasn't that great of a movie because, like, you probably be sitting there going, bullshit.
Yeah.
Really? You were a big fan of The Core?
The Core was not a good movie.
I enjoyed the hell out of that movie.
I'm not saying it wasn't enjoyable, but it was not good.
They said there were giant diamonds in the core of the Earth. And they had to jumpstart the bitch in the process.
I'm pretty sure we're thinking about different movies. Wasn't the movie The Core about the gateway to hell?
No.
Oh, that's Sphere.
Yes.
Never mind.
And Sphere wasn't even a gateway to hell. We don't even know what the hell it was. It was just something weird that they found in the ocean. At any rate. So Hollow Earth guy is just sort of like, the only way we'd be able to find a good an entrance into the Hollow Earth was if we had another Titan to guide us. So they're like, well, hey, let's go get. We got Kong, but of course the concern there is if Kong leaves Skull Island, then Godzilla's gonna be like, yo, bitch, the fuck you doing?
Could you imagine they try vice versa in this movie?
If it was Godzilla that was contained on the island and Kong showed up?
Yeah, good luck
Godzilla
containing
being the
Godzilla.
guide. Godzilla being the guide.
Oh,
See,
yeah, it would have been interesting, but it wouldn't have worked.
They probably would have needed like Orca Mark II to get his ass in there.
Yeah. But so they trank Godzilla, and God knows how much tranquilizers they needed to.
Did you say Godzilla?
Yeah.
He did. You mean Kong?
I meant
Yes!
Kong. I meant Kong.
broke him!
My mouth sometimes moves faster than my brain, or whatever. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's funny 'cause I
You
was
are
wondering-
not one to talk, Zeke.
Oh,
It's
I
funny
know
'cause
I mess up all the time.
I was honestly wondering how they were applying it. I was like, are they just like walking up to it with a big ass needle, shoved it into him?
Well, I thought they might be putting it through the chains.
No,
Through
it was
through
through
the
the
cuffs.
collar.
That's what I'm saying. I thought it might have like a
Yeah, but how do you cuff Kong?
I don't know how they do it in the old black and white film.
Well, see what happens is you get two cranes, and you get them to get the cuffs, and they wait for them to sleep, and like, okay, gently.
Cranes are not cranes are not something that you can put up that quickly.
No.
or
See,
that quietly.
Well,
as they're tranquilizing him, they're going, "Sun's getting real low, big fella."
There you go. There you go. They got deaf native girl to just do this. The sun's getting real low.
In sign language. See, what I want to know is, did they teach her ASL?
I don't think that was ASL. I think that was something else. But regardless, they gave translations for most of it.
Yeah.
And so, but they trank Kong and they put him on a cargo freighter and to ship him from Skull Island, which is somewhere in the Central Pacific, and ship him to Antarctica. But they get as far as like Australia before Godzilla's just sort of like, yo, bitch, the fuck you doing here?
Yeah, because Godzilla is basically going apeshit, trying to look for this thing that Apex is hiding from him.
Well, it's not just that. They've sort of established that Kong and Godzilla, if Kong, when they are when Kong leaves Skull Island, then Godzilla's just going to be like, all right. There's just sort of like that instinct of two alpha level titans being like, we must fight to determine who is strongest.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember reading about how they said that, unlike the previous Godzilla vs. King Kong film, this was going to show a definitive winner, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, well, they did and they didn't, but yeah, we'll get to that. So, but. Surprise, surprise! Godzilla shows up and starts fighting, and he kind of kicks Kong's ass.
Well, first off, you gotta keep in mind, humans are not smart, apparently. There's a giant lizard about to fight a giant monkey on a boat. Let's not release him to fight. Let's have him chained up for half the
Yeah,
fight.
but except as far as they knew, they still needed Kong to get to the Hollow Earth, and because Kong would not bow to Godzilla, the fight would go to the death. Now, yes, we saw later it's not necessarily true, but we as humans didn't know that.
I'm sorry, I may be the crazy one of the group, but the moment I see...
I wouldn't say you're the crazy one of the group.
The moment I see a giant lizard coming to fight the thing that's on my boat,
I am no longer on that boat.
I'm unchaining that thing and letting it do its thing, so that way it doesn't flip the boat.
Which is what happened.
Yeah, this is true. But yeah, so the fight, on the boats doesn't go very well. Kong gets knocked out, and to keep Godzilla from circling around to finish the job, they're like, shut everything down. Let's play dead, and maybe he'll go away. And it works. So they're like, well, what are we going to do now? We're still like a day or so away from Antarctica.
How does Kong feel about heights?
Yeah, and then I was just like, it's Operation Monkey Drop.
Think they had to use a giant pink pill like what they did in Operation Dumbo Drop?
He's not supposed to swallow it. How would you like to have that job?
Good news. It's a suppository.
Okay.
That's not good news for me.
Closer. Stop. Lower it a little bit more. Okay, now prepare the piston punch.
Yeah, basically. But they trank Kong again, and then they just sort of hoist him up with a bunch of helicopters.
Those are some strong fucking helicopters.
That was a strong goddamn net.
Yeah. And they basically transport him that way, the rest of the way to Antarctica at the Hollow Earth launch facility.
It was like, hey, here's an entrance to the Hollow Earth. We would go through Skull Island, but there's a hurricane-level storm traveling through there right now.
And always traveling through there, basically. And so Kong wakes up and he's just like, it's cold. What is this? There's no food here. I'm not happy.
We forgot about the side story at this point in time, because the side story is always
yeah, we forgot about the side story shit. So, if you want to tackle that one, Zeke?
I don't remember her name to save my life, though.
Maddie,
the chick from the second Godzilla movie.
the daughter of the
It's
Monarch
11. It's
guy.
11 from Stranger Things.
Yeah,
if
there you
that
go.
helps.
I've never seen that show.
Anyway,
She is listening to a podcast with the crazy guy.
conspiracy guy, yep.
And it's like, I believe him. I'm going to go talk to him and do my research to find him. He buys a lot of bleach. He mentions that in the podcast. I need to go to every place that gets a lot of bleach.
In the Pensacola area.
Yes.
And so she enlists the help of the kid from Deadpool 2.
Was he that? Oh, God. That's what
Fire Fist?
That I think that was him because I was just like, that's got to be him because like I was hearing his voice. It's got to be him.
The worst part about it, I'm sitting there thinking the whole entire time, I wish they got the kid from Spider-Man Far From Home.
The Asian kid?
Yes! That would be awesome.
But tell him, it's like, look, just stay in character from Far From Home and you'll be good.
Ned, yeah.
But yeah, they are trying to find the conspiracy theory guy, find him after buying $100 worth of candy, and
then the store clerk was suddenly like, no, I like what he said, where he's like, look, is this some stupid challenge again? Because I seriously didn't know those kids were going to eat those Tide Pods.
Yeah, I heard that. I started laughing.
And I'm still dealing with that lawsuit.
no like time-stamping your movies.
That was indeed Fire Fist.
Told you.
Julian Dennison. Wondering why a kid from New Zealand was living in Pensacola, but hey, whatever.
I don't know.
Hey, if you can bypass that, you can bypass how fast it took them to get from Pensacola to Hong Kong.
Well, they were put on some weird underground maglev.
Which they somehow built in secret, I'm
Hey,
assuming.
Billy-
Here's the thing. If Apex is able to secretly construct Mechagodzilla, and without anybody noticing, I think something like a cross-continental, global maglev transport thing.
The Mechagodzilla is more believable than the Megalith that's caused. Because how are they putting those pieces in there without people seeing them? At least with Mechagodzilla, you build him in a building and call it a day.
Because it was probably built underwater.
Okay.
And there you go. I just put more thought into it than they did when they were writing the goddamn movie.
Honestly, they're probably just looking at it like, you know what, the hell with it. We got a giant lizard fighting a giant ape. Let's just...
Nobody's going to question it until Zeke comes along. But yeah, so they track down conspiracy guy
and they nickname the fat kid
Tap Water because conspiracy guy asks Madison, tap or no tap, and she's like, no tap, obviously, and the excuse there is the fluoride in the water, and so they're brainwashing you with it or whatever.
And this is why we drink purified water from a fridge. It's no longer tap.
I don't think that's how it works.
Oh, what's good?
Yeah, we're all brainwashed, or at least you are, because I'm drinking bottled. So hey, I'm good. But so they go into the wreckage of the Pensacola facility to find sublevel 33, where this shipping is being sent from. And conspiracy guy's like, I wonder, the thing is huge. How are they? They said, I found a shipping manifest, but we don't have any heavy shipping. How are they going to get it there? And that's when they find, secret maglev transport thing. But
which brings me another question that I like poking loopholes and things. How they go from the first floor to sub-level 33 without being stopped?
Because I got the impression that the elevator that they took was, like a fast elevator. But yeah, I'm surprised they didn't have more cameras on. Then again, the facility had just been attacked. Maybe the security systems weren't working the way they were supposed to.
Yeah,
I'm not thinking about security systems. I'm more thinking about the fact that if there's 1 to 31 floors in this thing, you tell me no one pushed the button to take the elevator?
It's an express elevator. That's the impression I got from it. They pressed the button and it just took them all the way from ground level to sub-level 33.
Possibility. I'll go with express.
Let's not try to overthink it. Again, big monster.
Again, this is a world where there are giant monsters that have been living for billions of years.
And we didn't notice until, 1970.
No.
Until the 50s,
Well, if we're talking about chronologically, 1940s is when they spotted Godzilla.
After the Bikini Atoll tests or something.
Well, they were trying to kill Godzilla.
Okay, so yeah, they at least knew since the 40s that Titans existed, but we'd sort of lived alongside them for years and nobody noticed. If we, as a species, didn't really take notice of giant monsters living across the world, building a secret maglev transport thing. Come on. At any rate, but so they find these, while they're down there on sub-level 33, they find these pods that they're going to be shipping stuff in, and when they have to hide in there when people start coming in.
You're talking about the pods. Okay, no, you're talking about the transport units.
Yes, that's what I mean. The transport units. They're just sort of looking at it, but then another door starts opening. They're like, "Oh shit!" They jump in there to hide, and then they find out, "Oh, this is just the shipping guys." They're like, "All right, let's pack this stuff up and move it." The hatch closes, and then they're suddenly shipped out.
But you forgot about the freak out point. When they walk in and they look at the skull chasers,
the skull crawler eggs, basically.
And they're like, "Oh shit, we gotta get out of here!" And then they shut the door and they're like, "Oh shit."
I was getting there, but you got there first.
I kept thinking that watch, one of these eggs is gonna crack, and I was wrong.
Yeah,
but I thought that's where they were gonna go with that.
Same, but
I just love how the thing went 650 some odd miles per hour. Didn't crush the body or spleens.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. They have some real good inertial dampeners on the.
And then we're going to go for number 2 for this one. So they're freaking out, going, "Oh my god, there's monsters in here!" 2 minutes later, I want to sit here and read my book.
Well, here's the thing. I think even at those speeds, it's going to take some time to cross the half a world away.
Yeah, but I'd be probably much freaking out the whole entire time with giant little baby monster eggs in there.
I think after a while you'd realize, okay, they're not hatching. I wonder if I have YouTube down here.
That's the moment. The moment you let your guard down is the moment they kill you.
Yeah, but, that's not the sort of movie logic they were using here.
Yeah, that's true.
They were going for rule of funny right there. They cut back and they're just like swipe, swipe, swipe. I wonder if I'm gonna go through Tinder while I'm down here. Swipe left.
Wi-Fi.
I mean, if it was me, I was like, so how far to Hong Kong? Oh, that okay, good. I'll just sit here on my phone.
But so they go. But meanwhile, back at Hollow Earth, they convince Kong to go into the hole. To go down into Hollow Earth by having Native Girl sign to him that your family could be down there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I see what you're doing here.
Yeah, and, well, it works. And so then they hop into their little hovercraft things and follow him. And along the way, they pass through the breach, apparently.
Yes!
Because when that scene happened, I was glancing over your way, Zeke, to see what your reaction was. But you were wearing your mask, so I couldn't really see if you had a smile on your face.
I was smiling the whole time. Because like I said before, every one of these Godzilla movies, the moment Godzilla or any other giant kaiju, the only one it didn't happen for was Kong. That was Pacific Rim music. I know it! But I mean, Pacific Rim is generic kaiju music, so it makes sense.
Well, except for Godzilla, mostly what they were playing was a variation of the classic Godzilla theme. Bah, 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 bah. and that's that sort of thing. But yeah, but anyway, at any rate, they successfully passed through the breach into the antiverse. Nope, wait, sorry, I mean the Hollow Earth, which is still pretty weird because gravity is all screwed up.
There's
in there.
ground below you and above you,
And there are rocks floating around in places too.
Yeah, that when Kong got up to one of them, he just looked down, looked up, and went poke.
Yep, and he's just sort of like, "Oh, I could jump up there." Huh?
And that's exactly what it did.
Well, and he got to fight a couple of weird ass flying snake things.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, he took one, spun around, slammed it into a wall,
And killed it.
The other one he kind of struggled with a little bit because it tried to strangle him with his wing.
Well, it tried to strangle him with his tail and then suffocate him with its wing, and that's when the scientist guy was just sort of like open fire and just blah, 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 blah. They peppered the flying snake thing with some missiles, which loosened its grip enough for Kong to be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna rip your head off now," and then eat your brain.
See, Kong doesn't drink from the skulls of his enemies. He eats from them.
He was sort of just drinking all of the soup that came out of that thing.
Kong was like,
He was just Kong was literally like Juggernaut in Deadpool 2. I'm gonna rip you in half now, and then did so, and then was just like glug glug glug.
I wonder if I did my math right. If I did my math right, if I did, because I said 650, I did max, and did a map search from Pennsylvania to this.
No, not Pennsylvania, Florida, but whatever.
It was 12 hours and 5 minutes. That's because of how fast they were going. 650 miles.
So
an
it
hour.
would have taken half a day.
Yeah, half day.
You would have calmed down after a while. You would have just run out of energy and passed out on the floor.
Probably passed out. Yeah, I wouldn't know that.
And then you would have woken up, started panicking again. We'd slap you in the face, and then you'd eventually calm down enough. They were just like, here, look, you can play Fortnite in here. Stop it.
A basic airplane flight for me is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
If we ever do manage to get you on a plane, that's basically what we're going to do. We're going to trank you, wheel you onto the plane.
No, we're going to do to him what the A-Team did to Mr. T. And
That's what I said.
Give him a cup of milk, drug him, and then...
Punch me in the face? You asshole!
No.
Because remember, they drug him and Mr. T punched him in the face. There were drugs in there. Wasn't working fast enough.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's basically what we do, except there wouldn't be any punching. We just trank you up, wheel you onto the plane, strap you into a chair, and then when you wake up, just sort of like sit down. If you panic, it's not gonna solve anything. Anyway.
But yes, back to the
so they're in Hollow Earth, and Kong eventually finds his throne, and his apparently the Kongs had a throne room of sorts.
I was really disappointed from that though.
What was that?
Because they didn't show more monsters. They did like a little montage of him walking around. So you had the snake guy, the crab guy, the funky looking lizard monster who ate the crab guy. Looked at the camera and like, dude, what?
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that for a second.
I was expecting more of
Kong having to fight his way to get there. Maybe
not fighting his way, like monsters that will look at Kong because they've seen something like him before and probably be like, nope.
Yeah, I was sort of getting that impression that it's just sort of like in Hollow Earth, the Kongs are king.
Yes,
and so yeah, him just sort of swinging through and ambling his way through Hollow Earth. They're all just sort of like, the king has returned.
But seeing as how it seems like there has been a member of his species down there in a very, very long time.
Yeah, but
so of course those species probably forgot the Kongs.
I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think the Kong species are generally considered an alpha level Titan, but they've mostly for eons been in the Hollow Earth until Kong's particular, until something happened, they moved back up there. But when he comes through and kills a couple of those the flying snake things, they're just sort of like, oh, and
I think those flying snake things are Final Fantasy monsters.
I mean, most of them probably are.
Yeah.
So does this mean that when Kong
or Monster Hunter World, they found the new world?
Oh my! We are not talking about that. No.
Anyway.
About what?
I was making a Monster Hunter World reference.
Zeke,
No, they're not acknowing that.
Oh, the
We're
movie.
acknowledging what?
No. I don't know what you're talking about, so.
Oh, yeah, you do.
What are you talking about?
Nope. Not talking about any video game movies whatsoever.
Which video game movie?
Not talking about.
We're talking about Resident Evil.
Oh. At least that's better.
I thought you were talking about Monster Hunter.
My ears!
We have reached the trolling Zeke portion of this, but and Kong walks in. He's just sort of like, my father's axe.
Which was made out of a dorsal plate from one of Godzilla's species.
Yep, and he basically walks, has a seat in his throne with the axe by his side, and then finally he's like, oh, there's this indentation in the floor that looks like my father's axe. I'm gonna see what happens if I put it in there, and it starts charging up, like absorbing some of the life energy or whatever is in the hollow earth.
They said it was like the radiation that
Yeah,
essentially is a part of that area.
yeah, and that causes the dorsal fin thing to start charging up. And now we need to rewind back to side story thing with Maddie and Conspiracy Guy and Fire Fist. And when they get to the Hong Kong facility, they still somehow manage to avoid getting noticed for a while. But then they then they walk into what Conspiracy Guy at first thinks is like a sacrificial pit. Sort of is, I guess, because they when the lights come on, they find a whole bunch of giant like hatches all over the wall, and then Apex CEO guys just are like, all right, time to do another test. Cue Mechagodzilla, and his like scientist guy straps himself into the Matrix to pilot it. Or no, sorry, he's drifting. That's what he's doing.
Yes, he's drifting. There was drifting involved.
Except we then find out later.
I love how his eyes roll in the back of his head.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the test is basically they release a skull crawler in there, and Mechagodzilla, grabs it and like cuts it in half with the laser before it runs out of power. This is what they need the hollow earth energy for, is to power up this thing. They need to find the right energy wavelengths that they can somehow replicate. Don't ask me how that works exactly, but, hey, we're not supposed to think about it because big monster.
No, get it straight. It's not big monster. For science!
That too. No, but it's just like, again, it's just like all these little like inconsistencies. Is like, I don't think you can quite replicate an energy wavelength unless you can generate that much power, but whatever, big monster, I can overlook it. I'm not really trying to overthink this sort of thing. But while Maddie and her friends are sneaking around the facility, they find out that the drifting that the technology, the science guy is doing, he's drifting with a kaiju skull, and not just any kaiju skull. It's Ghidorah's skull.
The one that was recovered in the end credits scene for King of the Monsters.
And I'm wondering about that because we didn't see Charles Dance in here.
That doesn't mean he's... Well, I mean, you don't really see a whole lot of the characters from the previous films.
Yeah, but he was the one who got his hands on Ghidorah's skull.
Yeah, that might be another piece of a skull. Because remember, there was 3 skulls.
This is true. And the third one basically got eaten by Godzilla.
Oh, yeah, Godzilla did... Two of the heads were vaporized when Godzilla was going, like, full red...
Was going
radioactive
full nuclear Godzilla.
Because 2 of the heads were vaporized.
He was red Godzilla.
Yeah.
As opposed to regular, Godzilla.
And then the middle one survived. Till it ended up in Godzilla's mouth.
Yeah, but earlier in the movie, Godzilla had ripped off one of his heads, and it just sort of fell into the ocean, and then Ghidorah just grew it back.
Yeah. It
was that other skull was the one I think Charles Dance got his hands on.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so so now that ties up that loophole for me.
Because there was also the fishermen who were just like, yeah, everything around here is dead now, and the only thing we were able to get out of the ocean.
That's right, because that was at ground zero of the oxygen destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
Worst name ever.
Well, except they took that name from the
original 1954 Godzilla film.
I understand that, but still, a horrible name for a weapon. The oxygen destroyer?
Because that's what it does.
I know.
They were trying to think of something worse than a nuke.
Yeah.
All the fun without any of the fallout.
Yep.
Moab, basically. And then that's about when they finally get caught by security.
Favorite part about this movie:
They lock themselves in a glass lab.
Glass lab, locked themselves in. They get spotted. Conspiracy guy, maintenance. Don't freak out.
He's still wearing his Apex Cybernetics engineers.
I'm level 2. Don't worry about it.
Don't freak out.
Probationary.
Dude, she's getting security. Security's pointing guns. We can't hear you.
And the guy just presses a button. It's like, open the door.
No, he didn't push a button.
Yeah, he pressed a button on his side to basically turn the communications on.
Oh, I didn't see the button push.
Yeah, he pressed it. It's like, open the door. He's just like, I can,
I like how
he's still trying to beg off, and then they just shoot the glass out. He's like,
okay.
okay.
I like how he describes the one woman who is just like the lady with the evil person
with the villain hair.
With the villain hair, yeah.
It was just some random lab person, and then they get brought before Apex CEO guy, but by this time, as because they started powering up Mechagodzilla, that brought Godzilla to Hong Kong because
Godzilla felt a disturbance in the force,
basically.
But at that point in time, they had the power source.
They hadn't yet gotten the power source. I think it was when they first fired up the Mechagodzilla that we saw, and as it was shutting down, the eye started doing the Ghidorah call again.
But remember, because when he started doing the whole talking with the kids, that's when he died. So
yeah, I'm now we're going to rewind back again. Okay. We're sort of jumping back and forth.
That's why I hate subplots in a movie.
Anyway, Godzilla, has been on his way to Hong Kong, reaches Hong Kong, and then Kong does the thing with the axe, and because the Godzilla scale started lighting up, Godzilla's like, "What? You dare?" And basically,
you summon me?
Basically, atomic breaths a hole through the earth all the way to Hollow Earth, and then pokes his head through the hole. Is just like, "Bitch, we gonna do this again?" No. And Kong's just like, "Damn right we are." grabs his axe and starts climbing his way up. But the problem is, when Kong leaves, all the other Titans in there were just suddenly like, "Oh hey, snacks."
Well, she also started digging at the point in time.
Oh yeah, CEO's daughter, took a sample of the stuff that they needed for the energy source, downloaded the data on the energy wavelengths and sent it back to Papa, and then they used that to power Mechagodzilla. Because science works that way in the Monsterverse.
You can reverse engineer anything, so all you need is a wavelength. Or a piece of string.
Preferably both.
Yeah.
But if you're going to use a string, it's got to be red string, and you've got to have the big board of crazy.
Oh, and it has to have...
insert meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
And it has to have the word MacGuffin written in there somewhere.
Yeah. Because that's always how they get the humans involved in this somehow.
Yes.
But
there are people in this movie.
At any rate, they, Hollow Earth guy and Kong scientist and native girl manage to escape. Nobody else does. Villain daughter starts trying to escape in her hovercraft, and then Kong just sort of grabs her.
No, they made the stupid ass decision to shoot at Kong. All they had to do was fly past them, and they would have gotten out.
And they shot him, and Kong just turns around and is like, "The fuck you doing?" Crush. He just literally crushed it like a tin can.
Yeah, and meanwhile, he holds it up to his eye, looks inside, and
it's like, "Oh, you're not the girl that I like."
And then she's sitting there going, "No, crush."
Yep. And then he jumps through the hole to go fight Godzilla. Yeah. And so we got round 2 as Godzilla and Kong square off. They're both like basically doing their equivalent of like the sumo stomp thing, getting ready. Like Godzilla plants his feet and roars at him. Godzilla, Kong throws his axe down, punches the ground, and is just like, "Bring it on!" And he grabs his axe and charges. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because the first fight was done more in Godzilla's element, which was the water.
Mm-hmm.
This was more in Kong's element, which is on ground.
Mm-hmm.
But Godzilla is still able to fight on the ground. But I think he's more capable of fighting in the water instead.
Yeah, well, it's just that's his advantage. It's like he can also fight in water.
Yeah.
And if the fight happens to take place in water, Godzilla's going to win. On ground, without an axe in his hand, Kong still doesn't stand a chance. But he did here because he had the axe, and because it's made out of a Godzilla scale. When Godzilla tries to do his atomic fire breath, he just blocks it with the axe and charges it up.
Because the entire time I was thinking to myself, I was like, they made an axe, but they neglected to make a shield. Apparently the axe doubles as a shield.
Yeah. But we did get
Someone knew what the material is made out of, so because you have the
some other Titan bone, I think.
Yeah, you have the bone, you have the scale. Then it must be some kind of Titan gut vein or something like that to hold the thing in place.
Probably.
So that way it doesn't melt by atomic breath.
Probably. Heck, maybe the Kong folks or the Kong people just used Godzilla guts to make the rest of that. Maybe that bone is a Godzilla bone.
Possibility.
At any rate, so they had round 2, and Kong does have to run away for quite a bit as Godzilla's just spamming his atomic fire breath.
It's like a fight. It's actually a fighting game.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I have range attack. I'm just constantly shooting things at you, and you're like, stop it!
It was like Street Fighter, Hadouken. Stop spamming it.
In this case, it was more like Shinku Hadouken, you know, like the super attack version, and it was just cutting through buildings like crazy. I had Shin Godzilla vibes off of that.
Yeah, so did I. I was like, oh god, is he gonna start shooting a beam out of his tail now?
I was half expecting that from Mechagodzilla towards the end there.
Same here.
But at any rate,
more Dragon Zord than Mechagodzilla.
Any rate, yeah, I get where you're going with that, but eventually Kong gets the upper hand, beats down Godzilla, and Godzilla's just sort of lying there for a bit, like, the fuck just hit me, and Kong just sort of snorts and walks away, and but then Godzilla gets back up and it's just sort of like, all right, sort of does the equivalent of like cracking his neck. It's like round 3. Now I know what you can do. You ain't gonna get the chance, and Godzilla wins round 3.
Well, it's funny because Kong does manage to embed the axe into, I think it was his hip.
Yeah.
Into Godzilla's hip, and then Godzilla sends him flying back, and Godzilla literally just looks down, grabs the axe with his mouth, and then
rips it
out and flings it out, and embeds it into a building somewhere. And then after that, Kong's just like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that just yet. Give me a minute.
Yep.
And so Godzilla at one point in time, he's just crawling around on the ground like a damn gator. And Kong is literally hiding on top of a building. Yeah. He's just standing on the top with a crane in his hand.
And, he chucks it at Godzilla, or over Godzilla's head, so that when it hits the building, Godzilla turns in that direction, and then he jumps him, grabs him in a headlock, and just starts wailing away on him. I was wondering if we were going to get to see a monster suplex or something in there.
Monster chokeslam.
We got a bunch of judo throws practically with some of it, but Godzilla eventually gets the upper hand on Kong, just keeps beating on him, and then just dislocates his arm, and then just pins him down with his foot, and it's just screams in his face, just sort of like, bitch, stay down!
I love how these things are supposed to be primitive monsters, and they're so fucking smart.
Oh, yeah.
The thing about, in terms of gorillas or chimpanzees also,
any of the great apes,
they're very intelligent. They know how to use tools. That's why Kong uses tools.
Yeah. But he also knows how to we insert his shoulder from being dislocated.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
We saw that later, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I gotta say what my favorite part about that whole scene was when we get to it.
All right, but yeah, Kong is shown to be very intelligent, but then Godzilla is also not stupid. And it was after Kong finally got defeated. Godzilla screaming in his face, and Kong musters up one last roar of defiance. but he can't get back up to keep fighting. And then Godzilla just basically stands up, and is like, "Yeah, I thought so, bitch," and starts to leave.
And what did you say in the theater when Kong tried standing up? I didn't hear no bell.
Yeah, Kong did try to get back up, like he was going to keep fighting before he just collapsed again. And I turned to Chris, I was just like, "I didn't hear no bell," and you started laughing your ass off
Because I got the reference.
And that's when they decide to fire up Mechagodzilla, and Apex CEO does his little villain speech thing, talking about how he was doing all this so that mankind, meaning him, could be the alpha once again.
And he's talking with his eyes shut the entire time. Meanwhile,
no, his eyes weren't shut. He was just facing them and not the window.
No, because when they started walking away, I looked at his face and I realized I was like, his eyes are shut.
He was just lost in his own magnificence at that point.
And they're like, because they see Mechagodzilla powering up and then just like looking through the window at him.
It wasn't just that. You could see on the computer screens just next to the CEO that the pilot had been disconnected and there was a computer AI malfunction.
Yep.
And I was just sort of like, yeah, this is why you don't play around with stuff that's made from Ghidorah. You don't try to make a kaiju mecha hybrid. It never works.
It's like in the third.
Except from Pacific Rim 2.
That's what I'm talking about.
It works.
It's like in the.
They would have got away if it wasn't for the fact that they put the feedback loop in the programming at the end.
Yeah, but they were making a kaiju mecha hybrid, and it got hijacked, and they all went evil.
They went evil because it's part of the plan. The
Yes.
kaiju, the bad guy corporation didn't know they had kaiju in them. Remember, they thought it was just
Fair.
tech.
Okay.
And then bad guy put the
Yes,
code
but
in.
at any rate, making a mix of them is never going to go well for the humans.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not the first time that's happened with Mechagodzilla. I think it was the third Mechagodzilla. This is the Mechagodzilla film that they made after Godzilla Millennium, or Godzilla 2000 is what we know it as, where they took the bones from the original 1954 Godzilla and then built Mechagodzilla around it. So the skeleton was literally the skeleton for Mechagodzilla. And then its memories came back after it heard Godzilla's roar and was just like, I used to be him.
I once was a monster.
So it's not the first time that this has happened. It's just that this is the first time that they used Ghidorah. Now, granted, there was the when they brought in Mecha King Ghidorah. Mecha King Ghidorah was made from what basically leftovers of Mechagodzilla and what was left of Ghidorah at the time. They just merged them together.
At any rate, Mechagodzilla goes crazy. Poor dumb idiot that was drifting with him.
But my favorite part of that was, man, I didn't get to hear the rest of the speech.
Yes, that's right. As as Mechagodzilla is turning towards the control center, Maddie and Conspiracy Guy and Fire Fist are all backing away from him. The guy finally opens his eyes and he's like, "What?" And he turns and sees Mechagodzilla lash out and basically just destroys the front half of the control center, kills the CEO guy, and that's when Conspiracy Guy is just like, "I wanted to hear the rest of that speech." He probably had his phone like recording it.
Which we should mention the fact this man has old school flip phone and a conspiracy theory thing, taking pictures with his flip phone.
And you know what? I have an explanation for why he would use a flip phone instead of like a modern day smartphone.
Government watches his phone.
Exactly.
That's an easy one.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised though it was a flip phone and wasn't like a Nokia 3440.
I'm surprised they didn't plug the new Razor in that thing. Yeah, is it the old Razor phones? They brought them back now.
Yeah, that's
so. I had to look this one up because I heard the guy who was like the pilot for Mechagodzilla. I heard his name, but I was just like I wasn't sure.
Uh-huh.
He's supposed to be the son of the scientist, the Japanese scientist.
Serizawa?
Yeah.
Huh.
He's the son.
I thought it sounded like his name was Serizawa, but it was always like just sort of glossed over. I didn't quite catch it.
Yeah, but I heard it and I was just like, I need to look that up when we get back to the house.
Yep. And so Mechagodzilla blasts his way out of the Apex facility, which is underneath the mountain in Hong Kong, because of course it is.
Yep.
and literally just cuts its way out with its laser breath, and starts coming out. And Godzilla by this point was starting to leave, and it was just like turns is like, oh, that's right, you're why I'm here.
I feel like I'm forgetting something, man. I'm thinking about
and,
and
then he hears the mecha roar, and he's like, oh yeah, I gotta remind you who's boss around here. And Mechagodzilla's like, yeah, it's me. I'm the final boss.
He's almost inserted a coil. A new challenger has been
yeah, a new challenger has entered the arena. And Mechagodzilla starts kicking Godzilla's ass.
Well, he is much bigger.
Mm-hmm. And
though I do wonder how that must have hurt. Like, think about this. You're fighting a copy of yourself that's made out of metal, and your first move is to spear him. That's gotta hurt like a son of a bitch.
Mm. But then again, these are Titans.
Still gotta hurt like a son of a bitch.
Meanwhile, Kong is lying there and he's dying. Native girl can basically, by pressing her hand against like a surface, can hear his heartbeat.
Which made me so think of freaking Snowpiercer.
But
you feel the vibrations in the ground.
Yeah, and so his heart is slowing, and she's worried about this, and they're like, how are we gonna get him back on his feet? To jumpstart his heart, it would take more power than, and then the Hollow Earth guy's like, then that enough power to power Las Vegas for a month. And he turns to the hovercraft, which had been mentioned earlier in the movie, had that much power.
You can be impressed anytime now.
They slipped that little like nugget of information in there. I'm like, that's probably going to be important. But then I just sort of forgot about it until that moment. I was like, oh yeah,
foreshadowing.
And so he pilots the thing, puts it on Kong's chest and overloads it, jumps off and starts running. As it's literally like clear.
Why didn't he yell it?
Well, and maybe he did, but it got swallowed up by the explosion of the thing. And Kong just sort of gets to his feet. He's like, "Oh my god, what the hell's going on?" He looks around. He sees Native Girl, who's just sort of like, "Godzilla is not your enemy." And points at Mecha Godzilla. The Mecha is just like, that is enemy. And
Godzilla friend, big metal one enemy.
Yeah, basically. And so he's just sort of like, okay. Puts his shoulder, relocates his shoulder by slamming it against a building.
So I gotta say, what my favorite part was in terms of him doing that was he literally prepared himself by going, hoo, 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 bam, hopping back in.
And then he grabs his axe and goes back and jumps into the fray. And the two of them, it's tag team against Mecha. And Mecha still manages to get the upper hand at one point. But Kong is like trying to fight him off. And Godzilla gets up from where he got knocked down and is just sort of like, hey, blasts his axe with his atomic breath, and then Godzilla and Kong's like, oh yeah, and then just starts hacking limbs off. rips Mecha's head off, complete with spinal cord, and lifts it up, and I turned to both Kat and Chris. I was like, Kong wins. Fatality.
It's kind of. It's funny how normally it's Godzilla who beats Mechagodzilla, except for that time where he had King Caesar's assistance. So I think this is actually the first time that another kaiju defeated Mechagodzilla.
Well, and I think that led into their final sort of like stare down after that, as Kong is like holding it up and with his axe and everything. And then Godzilla roars, and the two of them just sort of glare at each other. And then Godzilla's like, "Fine," and just leaves.
Well, after he dropped his axe.
Yeah. It's like Kong put the axe down. Is like, we can do this again.
It's like Captain America. I can do this all day.
Yeah, basically.
I was kind of thinking about it from the second movie of Godzilla. Remember, they charged the weapons, and he got aggressive.
And as soon as they put the weapons down, Godzilla's like,
I'm thinking he realized the same thing, because remember, once the ship stopped moving, because Kong was still kind of conscious for that. He's like, I don't want to keep fighting, so I'm going to just put my weapon down.
It's just sort of like, I don't want to fight you.
Yeah.
You're the one who keeps coming looking for a fight, and if you want to fight, we'll go, but I don't want to.
That's why he put his weapon down.
I had forgotten about that moment with the Monarch facility finally powering down its weapons, and then Godzilla's like, sort of like, watching you, and then just leave. But it was like, so when it was just Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla won.
Yes.
He was the winner, but it was because Kong helped him out when he was in a pinch, and he put down the axe, and then finally Godzilla was like, okay, tell you what, you go back down into your hole. You can be king down there, but up here, I'm king. And so Godzilla just slinks back off into the ocean. Kong goes back down to Hollow Earth, where Monarch sets up a monitoring station for him. It's just like, heads up, he's going for his morning walk.
Morning walk / swing.
Yep. And cue the end of the movie. There wasn't a stinger like we were all hoping.
Yeah, like I had sworn I read somewhere that there was going to be a after credits scene, because Skull Island had one, King of the Monsters had one. So I was like, okay, I understand maybe the reason why they weren't going to do one for the 2014 Godzilla film, but I thought that I could have sworn they were going to do something to set up like the next film for this one.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what the next phase for the MonsterVerse would necessarily be.
So phase 2 of the MonsterVerse?
Yeah, we got the Godzilla versus Kong. What's next? I don't know.
The Mothra solo movie.
Zeke's just over here shaking his head.
Well, after watching Mothra, I mean, you don't get me wrong, Mothra's a good opponent, but it's like...
No, the funny thing is that there are like 3 solo Mothra films.
Yeah, I know. But
There's even a Rodan one, and I think a King Ghidorah one also. But these
Yeah.
are all like the Japanese ones.
Yeah. But regardless, it was good fun. It was good fun.
Wait, you know who they need to find a way to bring into this universe?
Who?
Gamera.
Maybe that's who the goofy-looking fish was in Halloween.
Yes!
Granted, Gamera's not owned by Toho.
So? Neither is Pacific Rim. And people are talking about trying to do a crossover.
Oh my god.
I want it.
Well, you gotta keep in mind, most of the moves that Mechagodzilla was using was from Gypsy Danger. He had the freaking plasma cannon. He had the rocket fist. I mean, I'm sitting
It
there.
wasn't so much a rocket fist as so much as he had rockets on his back.
No,
and
like
it was
really, one of the moves you saw his fist come up.
he had sort of rockets like all over the back side of him.
Yeah, but it's still a rocket
including
fist.
some on the back of his arm.
Fist is more like
Yeah, plasma fist. He didn't really shoot anything with it.
Yeah.
Didn't he dropkick Godzilla at one point in time?
He did kick him in the face, I think. I don't think he did a full-on drop kick, though. Kong did.
He did some Power Ranger moves on that shit.
But talking to Pacific Rim, might as well talk about it here. If you listen to our podcast about Pacific Rim: The Black Season 1, they have now confirmed they are working on Season 2.
Oh my god. That's gonna be another binge all by itself.
Oh,
I
yeah.
so can't wait for that.
And once again, when it drops, you'll probably watch it before we have a chance to sit down and do a proper binge cast for it.
I'm sick. COVID. Can't come to work for 2 weeks.
COVID's going to be gone by then.
See, in your case,
Fingers crossed.
No, in your case, just call work and tell them you can't get off the toilet. They'll believe you.
This is true.
And
You do have a rep.
And the words of Jeff Foxworthy, when you have explosive diarrhea.
No, he said that explosive diarrhea was his favorite one to use.
Yep.
Yeah, that wasn't one of his redneck things. That was just another bit that
Yeah,
he already had.
I know. I wasn't saying it was about redneck.
Yeah, I definitely I did like this, and there were times I'm just sort of sat there just sort of like, really?
Yeah,
but at the same time I was just like, I'm willing to overlook it because I'm still having a good time, but
It's an entertaining film. The plot wasn't that good, but it was entertaining.
It's
then
a
again-
popcorn movie. That's
yeah,
what it's
exactly.
And then again, I'm not looking for a great plot. I'm because Big
Big
Monster. I keep coming back to that, but that is the thing that excuses a whole lot for this.
The only thing I have to say is, please stop making universes now. I mean, I do.
Or
like,
if you're gonna do a cinematic universe, don't try to hit the ground running like DC did.
well, no, I'm tired of universes. Yes, we can make continuing movies. We can make tie-ins. That's fine.
But cross-franchise cinematic universe
Don't
stuff.
it's like making. Hey, we're gonna make. Let's reboot RoboCop, and while we're at it, we're gonna bring Terminator in, and we're gonna make a universe for that. No,
No, that was a video game for the Super Nintendo.
just Stick with a movie franchise and go.
And see, the MonsterVerse did it the right way. Because with Godzilla 2014, it was just Godzilla. Yeah, there were the Mutos in there, but they didn't try to front load too much.
Yeah.
Kong Skull Island kind of stood by itself. Monarch didn't really get name dropped until the Stinger.
No, Monarch was that was
okay, but
John Goodman dropped it early on.
Okay,
in the film.
that's true. But the revelation that there were these other titans out there, like King Ghidorah and stuff, didn't get dropped until the Stinger.
Yeah,
it's like it was a loose connection, kind of like how in The Incredible Hulk when Tony Stark walked in at the end, or earlier in the movie when the military is getting the sonic cannons, you see a Stark Industries logo pop.
You also see the Super Soldier Serum in that film too.
Yep, that's true. They bring up the Super Soldier Project. All of these things, that's how Marvel did it, and the MonsterVerse did it. Has been doing it similarly. Little breadcrumbs along the way.
I mean, in a weird way, Toho did kind of have... It sort of had a cinematic universe back in, like, I guess I could say the 60s and the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Again, when they did their Godzilla vs. King Kong film. When they brought in Jet Jaguar for, I think, 1 or 2 films. That was the movie where... Godzilla literally did the flying drop kick to the monster.
I've seen that clip. But yeah, it's like nowadays, if you're going to do a cinematic universe like this, you got to sort of build it up slowly. Don't try to front load it like DC did, with Man of Steel and then
Batman versus Superman.
and then Dawn of Justice. They tried to front load way too much, and the Dark Universe. Remember the remake of The Mummy with Tom Cruise?
Yeah, their biggest mistake was having Tom Cruise.
That was a mistake, but they also they shoved in way too much with the
Jekyll and
Hyde and the organization that he was a part of. I can't remember the name of it, but they were like studying all of these like monsters and stuff from the classic Universal movie monsters.
And the sad thing is that Universal had their own cinematic universe in the 30s.
Yes.
And
it was probably the first shared universe.
Yeah. But, when they did Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and they did the House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula films where they had all the monsters in it.
And if they hadn't tried to front load The Mummy with all of that stuff, if they just made it a standalone movie, maybe towards the end you get introduced to... the organization. That's when you meet Dr. Jekyll. But maybe he's not yet Mr. Hyde. Maybe he hasn't started injecting himself with the serum or whatever to suppress it. Because as soon as that happened, I was like, that's like way too much. You could have just built up to him suddenly turning evil because of his experiments or whatever.
The problem with me is I never saw that movie because when I kept thinking The Mummy, I'm not thinking of The Mummy you guys are thinking of. I'm thinking of The Mummy with
Brendan Fraser.
Yes. I'm like, why would you reboot that? Just leave it alone.
And Arnold Vosloo, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you really think about it, the Brendan Fraser one was a reboot also.
True.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I was thinking the same thing when, it's just like, you're rebooting it already? What? No. But regardless, don't front load your cinematic universes. It just doesn't work too well. Leave little breadcrumbs and plot hooks for future stuff, sure, but don't try to front load too much. But yeah, definitely enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong.
I will say this, though. I really, really liked how they did the logo for the film in the movie because it reminded me... No. It's just that the way... Because I watched... I've seen a lot of the Japanese ones. And Godzilla vs. Destroyer, for instance. The way the logo popped up, it was... Granted, it was all in Japanese, but you see Godzilla's name pop up first. You see Destroyer's name pop up, and then right between it, the Versus pops up between it right afterwards. So I got a lot of like the old school Japanese era Godzilla films vibes off of just the logo alone when
with
it popped
up. With the flashing colors like behind it, backlit.
Yeah, like I was just like, okay.
I liked how the logo popped up. I was like, nice. Definitely would recommend seeing it. We would not recommend going to necessarily see it in the theaters if you are concerned about COVID, because you are probably going to end up with people coughing in it.
Or you just do what we did and sit in the far back.
And pray that you don't have people sitting around you that might have it.
And make sure you take your pill to make sure that you do not get annoyed by any small thing.
And don't go looking for your friend in the bathroom.
That's an insider joke we're not going to get into. And also make sure that the doors at the back of the theater are shut so you're not hearing the music from the Indian movie next door.
I think I figured out why they left them open for us, though. Because keep in mind with the whole COVID thing, they kind of want to get as much circulation as possible.
That's fair.
That's why I walked back there. I'm like, nope, not dealing with this shit. I closed our door. I'm like, hell no.
Did you actually do that?
Oh,
Yes,
fuck
he
yeah.
did.
That's when we started going, and that's the crazy thing. I started hearing Indian bullshit. I'm like, nope. I put my mask back on. Got up.
I saw him get up, and I was like,
shut my
I saw you
door.
get up, but I was like, okay, maybe he has to use the bathroom or
No.
something.
and I saw him come right back, and then I realized, oh, I'm not hearing the Indian music anymore. I just looked over at Danny and or Zeke, and he just nodded and sat back down, and I was just like,
I
okay.
didn't know that's what you got.
Oh, I was so annoyed. I'm still like, why?
Anyway.
It was the only thing ever. We
Anyway.
quiet scenes. Oh.
I remember I looked over at Jay. I was like, "You think we should go next door to the movie theater and turn it down?"
You said that like as the trailers started, I think.
Yeah.
I want to do a reaction on trailer some of these days because I'm swear.
Yeah,
Are you guys looking forward to that Space Jam? Because from your reaction,
from my reaction, I was just like, eh. I was just like,
Truthfully, I want to know what it would have been like if we got the actual original sequel idea for Space Jam, where it was going to be called.
That's a discussion for another time. We don't necessarily have, this is already at like an hour and 16 minutes, so we should probably start wrapping this up.
clearly they hear us talk about things.
But we can talk about trailers and stuff afterwards. Yeah, the Space Jam 2 one, I'm just like, eh. But highly recommend scoping this out if you like to see big giant monsters fight.
And giant robots. Don't forget giant robot. There was a giant robot.
There was a giant robot.
So Zeke's happy.
Yeah.
No, I'd be even more happier if next thing you know you hear Mechagodzilla walk and it's a big old walk. I'll be like, I'm done! I'm really done!
Yeah, we were joking when about what we were expecting in the Stinger, that like suddenly a breach opens and then you see like Gypsy Danger walk through and then you start hearing da 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 da, the Pacific Rim music start playing.
No,
I think at that point Zeke could have died happy.
Could you imagine this? They start panning out, and next thing you know, you see Gypsy Danger's hand come out from where they just dug the hole through.
Yep.
Oh my god, I would have lost it. There would have been news articles, man loses his shit in movie theaters.
Man literally shits himself in movie theater.
It'd have been like you and
With joy. Shits himself with joy. Yeah.
As Jay goes,
you
not
were-
in my car.
Even you when we went to go see Venom, you're literally. I remember it because it was when he first turns into Venom and he's picking up the dude, and he goes, "We are Venom." You were sitting on the edge of your seat, and you about lost your shit in the theater.
You know what a movie theater... There's a thing I do when I'm at a movie theater, and when I lean forward, and you can tell I started doing that with Mechagodzilla pop up. I lean forward and you hear me go, yes! Yes!
Yeah, but yeah, if you had literally shit yourself in my car, then you would have been walking home. Like I said, as we were walking back to the car, and it's just sort of like, if you got to fart, do it now. Don't do it in my car.
Not my car.
Yeah, not in my car.
Hashtag not my car.
Exactly. But yes, good. Go see it. You know, don't expect a great plot. Don't expect everything to necessarily make sense. Switch your brain off. Just enjoy it.
Seriously, are you gonna go see a Godzilla movie for the plot?
No. Big monster.
Exactly.
I keep coming back to it. I'm gonna keep doing it.
I gotta say, first popcorn movie of the year, and now the fun's going to begin. It's not 5 episodes, story arc, go through here. No, you're going in to see shit happen.
Yep.
Which means there's 2 more coming around the corner for popcorn movies, and we cannot wait for them.
Go ahead and let's name drop them now.
We got Nobody that came out today, actually, I think, as well.
Oh, I haven't heard too much about that
You
one.
haven't
So
heard
nope.
And then
I'll scope out a trailer later.
There
Anyway.
was that one, and then the one I sent you, the movie with Jason Statham.
Oh yeah, that one. I forget what it's called, but I saw that one and it was like Jason Statham. Okay, Guy Ritchie's directing it. Okay, you have my attention.
You have my attention now. But yeah, this popcorn season's out here, folks. We'll sit back and enjoy the ride.
Yep.
So what's the next film we're gonna go see? Black Widow?
Probably.
No, we're going to see the Powerpuff Girl movie.
Fuck you. Anyway, so for Chris and Zeke,
Wrath of a Man.
Wrath of Man. That's the Jason Statham one. But so for Zeke and Chris, I am Jay, and we will see you next time.
Maybe.
Big monster.
Thanks for listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast. Be sure to check out our library of past podcasts via CKCC Radio or via our YouTube channel, and give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you after our next binge.